This past week in my Sunday school class, I was teaching on the end of Genesis chapter 19. This is right after the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, and there's this poignant passage in verses 27 and following where Abraham, having interceded for Sodom, goes out early in the morning and he looks out toward the Dead Sea Valley, and I see smoke rising up from the land. Now, Abraham, we know from earlier, it's mentioned that he's in the vicinity of Hebron. And so I wanted to be able to show my Sunday school class what his perspective was, where he would be looking and what he would be seeing. So I wanted to show them Hebron. I wanted to show them the area of Sodom and Gomorrah. But there's also, as the passage goes on, it talks about Lot fleeing to Zoar and then living in the caves in the vicinity of Zoar. And I also wanted to be able to show the location of Zoar. And since that story talks about the origins of the nations of Moab and Ammon, I also wanted to be able to show them the location of the later nations of Moab and Ammon. So there were a lot of geographical things that I wanted to be able to show in accordance. And so to do all of these things, the first thing I did, this is how I usually open a map. I usually find a site name and then amplify to the map. So I'm going to select the name Zoar and then go up to my toolbar and choose an atlas color scheme. I happen to like the light browns. I think it looks like the old Macmillan maps. So we've located Zoar on the map, and I also want to show the location of Hebron. Now, I can do a search for Hebron by clicking the Find button here. I happen to see that it's right here. It's already in one of the existing site layers that I have. So to highlight this, rather than going through a search, one little trick is to hold down the Shift key and click the site name. And you can see that highlights the site so that now it's just offset a little bit from the other site so that it'll make it easier for me to point it out to my Sunday school class. Next, I wanted to show the location of Sodom and Gomorrah. And since Sodom and Gomorrah have not been located definitively, what we've done, rather than creating sites, we've created a special region layer for Sodom and Gomorrah. And so if I select that, you'll see two shaded areas. These are two different possibilities for where the cities of the plain were. One is up in the northern part of the Dead Sea, and then the other is down in the southern part of the Dead Sea. And since Zoar has been located with some measure of certainty, most scholars tend to favor a southern location for Sodom and Gomorrah. All right, so let me zoom back out a little bit. Now, the only thing left for me to do in preparing this map is to show where Moab and Ammon are located. Now, it helps to familiarize yourself as much as possible with the different region and site and route layers that we have. Because I've done that, I know that the divided kingdoms layer shows the location of Ammon and Moab, but along with Edom and Philistia and Judah and Israel and so on. I don't want all of those other regions though. So what I can do is create a custom region that will just show Moab and Ammon. Now to do that, what I'm going to do is go into my region layer pop-up menu, and I'll choose Define Region Layers. And this will open up a dialog box that lets me create a new region layer. So I'm just going to click the New button, and I'm going to select the region set from our database that I want this new region to be based on. So what I can do here here's my list of regions in the database, and I want to go until I find the divided kingdoms. I'm just going to double click that to select it. Now, you'll notice that this checkbox that says fill from region name is automatically checked. And so when I choose divided kingdoms here, it supplies that as my region name, assuming that I just want to show the region as it is in our database. But I actually want to uncheck this so that I can give it a new name. And I'm just going to call this Moab and Ammon. All right, so now I'm creating a special layer called Moab and Ammon. Now, down below, there's a pop-up menu that lets me choose the different subregions that I want to have displayed. And so you can see here's Israel, here's its color, and you have the option to hide or show its name, that is the label, or its drawing, the shaded color fills that show the region. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure that those are checked. I want Israel to be hidden. I want Judah to be hidden. Ammon I don't want hidden, and I'll select red as the color. That's just what happened to come up. Aram I want to go ahead and hide. And Edom I want to hide. Moab I want to show, so I'm just going to leave that. And then Philistia I want to hide. Phoenicia, hide that. And Egypt, hide that. So I've essentially hidden everything but the regions of Moab and Ammon. And when I click OK, it should save this new region and display it on the map. And there we go. So now we've got Ammon and Moab displayed on the atlas. Of course, in the process of doing all of this, I ended up with Moab and Ammon as my selected region. And I've lost the Sodom and Gomorrah region. Okay, this is a pop-up, so when I choose one, I lose the other. Now I've got Sodom and Gomorrah, but I've lost Moab and Ammon. So another little trick that you can do when you want to display multiple regions on the same map is you can hold down the Shift key when you select a second region. So I'm going to hold down the Shift key and select Moab and Ammon. And now I've got both of those overlapped on the map, and you can see there's a little plus next to Sodom and Gomorrah and Moab and Ammon, so that showing me that both of those are currently displayed. So now I've got my 2D map set up the way I want it. I may zoom in a little bit here. One little trick for zooming in, you can just drag a box around an area and then double click, and that'll get you a little closer. It'll zoom into that particular square that you created. So now I've got Sodom and Gomorrah, I've got Zoar, I've got Hebron highlighted, I've got Moab and Ammon shown on the 2D map. But what I really wanted to do was to show my Sunday school class Abraham's perspective as he's standing at Hebron and looking down into the Dead Sea Valley and seeing the smoke rise. So I decided to do a 3D map. Well, to do a 3D map, you simply select the area of the terrain that you want to be displayed on the map, and then you go to this little icon that looks like a mountain, and you choose the extent to which you want to exaggerate the altitude data. This times 1, times 2, times 4 is how much you want to exaggerate the true altitude. So if I do times 1, I'll get a true 3D image of the land. The problem is that with times 1 is that if I select a large area of the terrain, it's going to look kind of flat. In the same way that, if I'm flying over an area of land at 30,000 feet, even high mountains are going to look sort of flat. So we allow you to exaggerate the altitude so that you can see the changes in topography a little more dramatically. And so I'm just going to choose ×4, and that should give me a pretty good 3D map with all of the information that I added to the 2D map. I'm going to go ahead and enlarge this, and I'll bring in my 3D controls here. And I can zoom in, I can point out, here's Hebron where Abraham is, here's Sodom and Gomorrah where Lot was, and then eventually he ends up in Zoar. Here are Moab and Ammon and so on. But if I want to show Abraham's perspective, I can actually grab this little sort of joystick control for the turn, and I can turn the 3D map, and then I'll sort of zoom in on Hebron here, and I can use the move control to move so that Hebron is centered in the image. Now we can get an idea of what Abraham would have been seeing as he looked down into the Jordan Valley from the hill country of Hebron. So that's what I ended up doing for my Sunday school class this past Sunday, and I thought it was would be an interesting screencast because I've gotten to show you a few little tricks, how to customize a region layer, how to display multiple region layers on the map at the same time, how to highlight sites, and so on. So I hope this has been helpful to you.